Okay. So there's a few new faces in here. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Dylan Wisdom. I guess I will put up my slide here.
And he is Bonnie's grandson.
Yeah, it's it right here.
That's always the important part, right there.
Yeah. Anyway, so those who don't know, so pretty much right now we've been doing two styles of classes. We've been doing ones where I go through a specific topic and we go over that topic, answer questions, provide material, all that sort of thing. This kind of class is more of an open discussion / mix on one-on-one, one-on-one sessions. I'm going to go through, I think we did a really good last time with some of the one-on-one stuff. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time going over some global things because I think there's a lot of good cross-learning that we do, right? Again, I'm always open to feedback. So if there's anything that you would like to change or you don't like that I'm doing, etc., I would love to hear from you because I'm doing this for you guys, not for my own benefit necessarily. So there's a sign-up sheet at the back. That's not required. What I do is I record these videos, and then if there's questions I can't give really good specifics on, I research them and then send them out in an email after. If you'd like that, just give me your email. If you've already given me your email, don't feel like you have to fill out everything again. Just give me your name and then check the little box just so I know you were here because I won't remember. Because the rest of my day is going to probably be crazy and I'll be like, who was there again? Because we're going to do a little bit of upfront and then personal questions, if there's something I don't get to, I put notebook, paper, and pencils back there for you guys to take notes if you'd like. And I think that's it. Any questions before we get started? No? Okay, great. I'm going to have my handy dandy Google up here just so we can, I use this to show screenshots and images and stuff like that because you guys surprise me every time by have no clue what we're going to come up with. So, okay. All right, who wants to start? Yeah, sure.
QR codes.
Yeah.
They're using them more and more everywhere.
Sure.
Mine don't always work.
Yeah, so QR codes, and I'll pull one up. Those of you who don't know what they are. Oh, sorry.
Those little squiggly boxes, you can get a lot of different things. You see them even in the grocery stores now.
Yeah, so QR codes are like this. They're and they can look. They have all sorts of different formats. They can either be. This is like the stereotypical one, but there's weird ones like this, or like this with images in the middle. Essentially, all they are is barcodes, but they just link to other pieces of information. The most common piece of information that a barcode links to is a website. So most of the time when you scan a QR code, it's going to take you to a website, and then usually there's information there. If you look at my business cards have a QR code on that, and that takes you to a whole bunch of my links that I have, right? So that's a good example. So it's a way of putting a lot of information into one thing. Yes?
You said website or something else. What else is there?
I mean, really anything that's digital you can encode in a QR code. So you could, it's not common, but you could technically like put a photo inside a QR code. So if you scan it, it shows you a photo. So I've seen some companies do that for like flyers. It's all right here. It's either going to link to a website or it's actually physically in here and the computer interprets this. It decodes it. Yep, phone, computer, yeah, exactly. Sometimes. It doesn't have to though. Because like when you go, like let's say google.com. So google.com is going to be in these series of blocks. And then your phone can read that and then figure out where to go from there, right? In that case. So once your phone reads the QR code, it's like, okay, it's a URL. Another way that to use QR codes is for contacts. That's another common way of doing it where you scan the QR code, your phone understands that it's a contact and stores it.
Can I make an announcement?
Yeah.
Thank you. Game day tomorrow. Our mahjong lady will be there. Krista. So if you want to learn how to play mahjong, come tomorrow at 1.
1?
Yeah. Karen will be there. Yes.
Yeah, I'm still, my stepson has newer cars and somebody has to drive it. I don't know yet, because we won't know till tomorrow morning.
Okay. Alright, good.
Yeah, we're good.
Alright, thanks, Kelly. Welcome.
So, in the early days of barcodes, it used to be not very easy to use. A lot of the time it installed downloading an additional piece of software on your phone to read that, or an app, right? Nowadays, your camera, all modern phones, if you just open your camera app like you were to take a photo of anything, you're going to, once you scan the QR code, and I'll pull that up here. And I'm going to say iPhone here, but it's pretty much the same on everything. So I'm going to blow this photo up here. So I know it's kind of hard to see, but do you see this little tiny yellow blurb down here? Even on Android phones, it'll change the color, but it'll always be a blurb. And then it's really too tiny to see even for me, but it says apple.com right here. So it's going to tell you kind of what it's going to do. It's like a small sneak peek. It's going to say either the website, or it's going to say contact, or it's going to say something. And then you tap on this, and then that's you telling it to, okay, whatever piece of information's in there, act on it, right? Like I said, I would say 90% of the time, it's to go to a website. If you'd like to practice, like I said, my business cards have QR codes on them, and that's safe. I promise. We were just talking about like the Prime stuff. There are malicious QR codes, right? So you have to be careful of QR codes. The biggest thing with QR codes, as there is in any piece of security, is always be aware of context. Like a very common way to use QR codes now is if you go somewhere and you sign in with your Netflix account, instead of using the little remote to try and key in every little character on your password, you scan the QR code, it takes you to Netflix's website, you sign in on your phone where you can maybe type faster, and then it goes there. So they're just easy ways to go where you want. Yeah.
Question. Sometimes when it doesn't work, like for instance, I'm at Hy-Vee and it says do the QR code,
Yeah.
and you get the coupon.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't come up, is it me or is it them?
No, because so the good and the bad of trying to make QR codes work straight from your camera. If the QR code, if the phone thinks that you're looking at a QR code, it's going to pop up this little yellow bubble. But if you don't interact with it within a certain amount of time, or you click out of it or something, it's going to say, "Oh, sorry, it's not telling you this, but it's going to be, "Oh, sorry, I made a mistake," and then it's going to go away. The best solution you have usually is to close out of your camera completely, go back in and try again. It takes practice. Yeah.
You said that there are malicious. Is there any way that we can know that it's
Not 100%. So there are clues always, right? So again, QR codes are one of those things where they're a great tool, but when a great tool becomes a great tool, people start using it for bad reasons. Like I said down here, apple.com is where it's taking you to. And it kind of gives you that clue. Now, if you look at if you scan the QR code and it looks like some really weird jumble mess of something, you're going to be like, I don't think that's a very safe website. That's your first clue. Another thing you can use is situational awareness. Like I said, if you're signing into your Netflix account because you want to sign into your Netflix account, sure. But if you get an email or something, or a prompt to scan a QR code randomly that you didn't really want, that's probably more sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah, on the laptop or something. I always look for that HTTPS.
Yep. Yeah. So
See that?
you won't see that on the bottom. You'll see just the actual domain. Which, if you were here for my cybersecurity for seniors 101, remember how I said that it should be like that one is apple.com. If it's apple-com or something weird like that, then you know not to interact with it.
But on your phone, you won't see that anymore.
No, you won't until you go to the website. Which, let's say that you do accidentally go to a malicious site. That's obviously not a great thing. But Usually, and you just have to be very aware and cautious. If you go to a bad website through a QR code, and you immediately like, oh, I thought this was okay, but now it looks really sketchy. The best thing you can do is just close out of the page, go back to your home screen, and then just don't interact with the page at all. And then maybe let someone you know or trust look at the website too. And
Dylan,
yes,
one of the ones I just saw this morning was one of the TV stations is taking donations for artistry.
Yeah.
And they put up a QR code
Yeah.
to go to that site.
yep. And you can scan straight from the TV or whatever, right? You can just point your phone at the TV. It is dangerous, right? You just there's no anytime there's a security thing, there's very few like true one thing you can look at to be able to tell if it's a scam or not. You just have to be very aware of what you're doing. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer on my part, but
So somebody said I should have my Bluetooth on my phone if I want to scan. Why would that?
for the QR code scanning, I don't think that's necessary.
And if I get a form on a QR code
Mm-hmm.
and I want to print that form out, how do I do that?
So it depends on what device. Do you have an iPhone? So it's going to be similar, but it's going to depend on the device, and it's going to depend on the website that produces the form. But generally speaking, there is a little tiny either 3 dots. You tap the 3 dots, and usually there's a print option, or usually there's a print option at the top right or left corner that usually looks like a very small printer.
Dylan, buddy? Go. I did your business card.
Uh-huh.
It takes me to the link, cr.ee,
Yep.
but I don't see the HTTPS. You won't see that on your phone.
You will not. No. Well, if you're already at the website, if you tap on the URL at the bottom. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
HTTPS.
Yeah, but my point was is you won't see it until you already go to the website. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So when I see HTTPS,
Oh.
Is that always safe? That website is always going to be safe?
Say that again.
When you see HTTPS, is that always going to be a safe website? Or it's just tell you?
No. So that's it doesn't sound like it, but it's a complex question. So essentially, the way the internet works today, the way you get your S is that like the website that I have, I went to a registered agent, and I had to provide them certain documents to prove that I was legitimate. That expires. So in other words, if I don't renew that, I could end up losing the HTTP, the S at the end of the HTTP. You can still get there, but now I haven't been verified. So am I malicious? Not necessarily, but you don't have the comfort of knowing I'm secure. Does that make sense?
Very good.
So there's no, it's not always yes, not always no, which I know is frustrating, but
No, that's a good answer.
yeah, no problem. Print icon. So it's going to look something like this usually. That's like the default print icon. On phones and tablets and stuff,
Where's the box with the arrow?
that's share.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, yeah, true, true.
You know what I'm talking about there? Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
No, even down below, that one.
Yeah, all of these, technically.
If you click on that too soon, sometimes you can get to the print or you can send it to your email.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing,
From there.
yeah, true. So these are all universal symbols for sharing, and unfortunately, there's 3 of them because no one agrees upon a single one. And the reason why I said sometimes the print's in the left, sometimes it's in the right, sometimes it's in this, sometimes it's in that, is because they don't all agree. But usually, if you can print, it's going to be in one of these thing or the 3 dots. Yeah. Yeah.
So from your phone, if you're doing that, do you have to set up a link for your phone to talk to the printer? Does that have to happen?
That, oof, yeah. Yeah, for sure. You need so Generally, the requirements is both devices are on the same wireless network.
Okay,
That's the number one requirement, regardless of the hardware.
okay.
Now, then after that, it's up to the printer whether it uses AirPrint technology.
Probably not.
It depends. I've seen some older printers still work with it, and I've seen some newer printers not work with it. It depends on brand.
It's probably not gonna happen that way, but that's.
Yeah, but that's usually how it is. If your phone is on your Wi-Fi and your printer is on your Wi-Fi, and then the printer accepts that kind of connection, then it can print.
Okay.
Usually.
Okay, I may have to go into my printer manager, but how can I name that? Because every time I go between my phone or my iPad or my computer, that same exact printer, which is a Canon 641C, it gives it a long ABCD, whatever, LMNOQ, whatever code, and each time it's different when I log into that. Can I name it so I don't have to decipher if that's my neighbor's printer or my printer? So I'm not printing my
Yeah.
documents at my neighbor's house.
Yeah, 100% with you. Well, no, hang on. Have you accidentally printed to your neighbors?
No,
Okay, good.
but I didn't.
No.
Because I know my neighbor's name, so I purposely click on the one that's the 641C, but it gives it it changes
Yeah.
each time.
Have you ever printed to their printer before on purpose?
I did once when my old neighbors lived there,
And-
they don't live there anymore.
And that's why it still shows up as an option, because it's history. So if
No,
you,
they're long gone.
right, but the device name is in the history of things you've printed to before.
No, but it's my device that keeps changing, and that's still the same reason?
No, so hang on.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
it's
but-
been a few years.
but my point is unless you're on their Wi-Fi, you're not going to print to their printer. Even if you tried, it won't happen.
I know, but I share codes for neighbors to watch Ring cameras for security with all 2 or 3 of my neighbors. So now you understand what I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah, so without getting,
When they travel, everybody's Ring camera comes to my phone and my iPad.
so long story short, to change the printer name, you have to go into the printer and change it. But it's still up to interpretation of certain devices on what it's going to display the name as. So the printer's going to say, hey, this is what I think you should show my name as. And then some devices are like, okay, I'll take that. And some are like, I don't want that. I'm going to use another piece of information that you're giving me to display. And there's not much you can do about that. But that's the first place to start.
No, this printer is not gonna get traded out. This is a nice printer. Okay.
Then it's probably,
No more HP.
what is it? I agree.
HP.
No,
It's a Canon.
I would start there. I think that'll solve your issue. And if not, then it's going to be something else.
Would that also clear up the problem about sometimes I have to go and turn the power off and then repower it rather than leaving it on?
The printer
It won't
itself,
recognize it. Yeah.
there is going to be a setting somewhere in that printer that is energy efficiency somewhere. I know. Printers are not fun things. I promise you.
Well, I print from all different devices.
I know.
So,
I have two in my world. I have two banes of existence. One is email. One is printers. So
And
Yeah.
they talk to one another.
sometimes they do.
if not, it's down in the basement at the other one. That's the thing. So we have multiple printers.
But just if you get that far, just text me. Seriously, like send me a photo. Like, hey, do you think you know where it's at? And I'll be more than happy to help. Yeah. Because and every printer interface is different. Even if it's a Canon to Canon, depending on what version of the printer, it's all different. So sometimes I have to search around too. Yeah. What else? More questions?
Forgive me if this is specific, but.
No.
My laptop is 7 years old now.
Yeah.
Really getting old.
Yeah. So I get these questions all the time. It's like, how do I know slow is because like it's needing to be cleaned up, or how do I know it's slow because it's about time to retire it and move on, right? In like industry, we usually rotate laptops every 3 to 5 years. That's aggressive. But when you get to the upper part of 5 years, that's when you can start noticing hardware changes, depending on what you have. I'm assuming yours is a Windows computer. Do you know what version of Windows it's running? 10? I would assume so. It's not, so when you first say to me it's a 7-year-old laptop and it's starting to get really slow, that's not majorly surprising to me. The first thing that I would do is probably do a few things to clean up and make sure it doesn't have what we call bloatware. So everyone's heard of malware, right? So malware is the really bad, icky stuff that can ruin your computer, steal your information, whatnot. Bloatware is all that stuff that companies package together. So like, let's say that I go, like the big, really common culprit of this is like Adobe Reader, which is the most common application to look at PDF files. A lot of the times it's packaged with a trial of McAfee, and they make it so small you technically agree to it, and it's a little tiny checkbox. Anyway, so you download Adobe, and then all of a sudden you have McAfee. And McAfee's not going to hurt your computer, but it's a really heavy software. So we call that bloatware. It's not malicious, but it takes up a lot of resources and stuff like that. So over time, computers get full of bloatware. That's one example, like whether it's cache files from Chrome or Firefox or etc. So generally for you at a 7-year thing, it's not like time for a new one, but it's not like not time for a new one. So I would do a cleanup first and then consider how much improvement in performance you get at that point, and then depending on if that's suiting your needs or not, potentially consider replacement. I can send out some information on some really quick tips because there's a lot of detail involved, and I don't want to go into that, but I would be more than happy to send that out because, yeah.
Is how to delete like McAfee, and so we don't delete something we should be deleting. Can we delete it, and that would help speed it somewhat?
Sure.
Can you include that on there, please?
Like what types of software to check for?
Yeah, different bloatwares that you know that we may not be using anymore.
Yep.
What about cleaning our phones? That's what I can see.
1 second. Sorry, I had one last thought on that. Anyway, but I'll send out some information on that because it's not terribly complicated, but it's multiple steps, and I think it'll be more worth the time for me to sit down, write it out, and then send it out so everyone can have that information. Cleaning up your phone depends on which operating system you use, Android or iPhone. Generally speaking, it doesn't need to be done as much as like a computer does. It doesn't hold as much. Really on a phone, what you're going to be looking at is all the stuff that you've added on to it. They're not as susceptible to bloatware and stuff like that. Really what it's going to be is like apps that you don't use anymore, and then I know it's insane, but apps depending on what it is, can use up to gigabytes of space now. So
If they have installed from it, I don't
sometimes.
know.
Yeah.
The ones that need to be done.
So pretty much for all devices, Android, iPhone, etc., if it has to be on the phone for it to function, it won't let you uninstall it. If you don't use it and it will let you uninstall it, it's probably fine.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, they're not going to let you uninstall something that's going to break the phone.
Go back to the store and reinstall it.
They could,
Yeah.
but you have to make sure. You can definitely always reset your phone and start from scratch, but you have to be confident that you've got your stuff backed up, or you will lose it. Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Zoom, you like talk to somebody else.
Uh-huh.
Like how do you set something up?
Set up Zoom, so you're talking about like video calls. So it's usually pretty simple. So there's a couple big platforms. Zoom is probably the most well-known. They got really popular during the COVID time when people were doing that. Teams is another huge one. It's the Microsoft product of it. We personally use that the most. And then there's WebEx. WebEx is another big one. With all of these platforms, essentially what you do is you'll have to have an account to create a meeting. Usually you don't need an account to join a meeting.
Do you have to download a software onto your computer from some, like Play Store or something?
Not always. So if you're creating the meeting, so usually so always start with the website, whether it's Teams, WebEx, or Zoom. I always start at the website. Now, if you're creating the meeting, you're going to have an account. And then so you have to go through the account creation process. And then usually once your account's created, it'll take you to what I call the web app, which is like a website, but it's going to look kind of like an app, but it's not downloaded on your computer. And a lot of the more modern ones will allow you to do that without installing anything. And then you would create your meeting from there. And then usually once you create the meeting, it's going to give you an ID. And then whoever you want to join that meeting has to go to zoom.com and it'll say join meeting, and then you put in the ID. And that's usually it. And I can write out some tips on that too and send them out.
Please. Why is it that an Apple phone and an Android phone cannot do the video calling?
Hang on, let me make this thought and I'll answer that. How to create a video call, Zoom, Teams.
Create another phone. We are really proud.
So I can't remember. I think Android changed it, but Android's video call function used to be Duo, and then iPhones has been FaceTime. And the reason why you can't call each other is because they're apps that are only available on those platforms. That's just really it. And
you just have to maybe go. Now, can you do a video, a Zoom on your phone?
Yep, you can.
And that would bypass the Apple phone and the other. It would just be, you could do it on your phone, but it'll be like a Zoom call and you could see.
Sort of. The big difference with like a Zoom and Teams meeting versus like Duo and FaceTime is FaceTime and Duo, they act like traditional phone calls, but with video. So in other words, you make a call. Usually with Teams and Zoom, there are ways if you add contacts in Teams and Zoom to just make a straight up call to someone, but most of the time it's based around a meeting. So at a set time. So it's not as on demand. My suggestion for now, you have to be very careful with whatever app you use, so please use with caution, but Facebook Messenger tends to be a really good solution for cross platforms because the app is available on both Android and iPhone and it works pretty well. That's what Messenger. Yeah, it has like a phone call or a video call function on it too. Yeah, but there's a couple. I mean, there's WhatsApp, there's Facebook Messenger, there's a couple of them. Again, I want to be clear that these are good tools for good purposes, but WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger are also common pain points for scams and stuff where people try to message you and get stuff. So even though you can use it for a good reason, just be aware that you may get spam and scams in those inboxes. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like my aunt has an iPhone, and I haven't been able to FaceTime her because she's got the iPhone and I've got the Android.
Yep.
But if I go through Facebook,
it should work.
But that's not. Is that going to leave me open to a lot of spam mail?
It's not huge. The risk is there though. Yeah. I just want to make everyone aware. I'm not trying to make anyone afraid of using this. So.
Real time, like Facebook, because like my iMessages come like a text.
It's real time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not quite a text message. It has to use internet. It doesn't use so. Most phones nowadays have cellular networks which have internet on them, so you won't be using like SMS. You'll be using internet.
So if they don't have Facebook, they can't do it either.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you on cross-platform video calling without someone having the app on both ends. There's not like a good universal function, which I think is a shame. I think someone in the world needs to change that. So. I keep telling them to give me a job at Microsoft and I can work on a whole bunch of things. Please, absolutely. I'll send out the petition. Okay, Any other small questions? We have about 10 more minutes before I decide whether we keep jiving with this or go to one-on-ones. No? This is your chance. Unfiltered access. Okay.
How are you on an hourly basis?
Absolutely. My
So far over my head that I'm so.
okay, yeah, my cards are up there. Just call me or text me, and leave me a voicemail if I don't answer right away, and I'd be more than happy to help if you want.
My question might be addressed when you send out information about cleaning.
Okay.
I've been using Avast.
Yeah.
Free on my desktop
Sure.
PC. And I took some screenshots of what popped up this morning. But
Okay.
it makes it sound like it found a bunch of bad stuff, but then when you try to resolve it, it wants to sell you the premium that you pay for.
Yes.
And I didn't know if I needed to do that.
Yes. Okay. I want to address that because I think that's a great thing. I'm going to repeat, I'm going to paraphrase, but so in other words, she's using Avast, which is a decent company. Their free version of their antivirus. So I'm going to address that part first. Windows computers come with antivirus built in called Defender. It's pretty good on its own. If you want additional protection, you can definitely download a free antivirus like that. It's not a bad thing. Usually what happens with that is once Windows realizes that you have a third-party antivirus, it turns off its own so that they're not conflicting. I've seen several people where they want extra protection, so they download more than one antivirus, and that's very counterintuitive. That can actually do more bloat than help there. The reason why you're getting all those messages, so nowadays antiviruses aren't just antivirus. They call them that, but they're packaged with anti-bloat, antivirus, performance checks, all that sort of thing, right? So usually they give you a base antivirus, which is essentially looking at files, and then the files are linked to a database, and there's like, okay, does this file match this database of things that are bad? And that's all that is. Then all the additional stuff, they give you warnings about it so that you'll buy the other features. It's like an upsell, right? Most of the time, those other features, like when they give you those messages, 9 times out of 10, those aren't things that are critical. Not saying that they shouldn't be addressed, but are not critical as antivirus itself. My opinion is, depending on exactly what it's telling you, is to get a professional opinion on what that's trying to tell you, and whether you should actually pay for something more to have that done, or if it can be done manually in a fairly easy way without spending a whole bunch of extra money on those additional features. Though there are some people who just tell me, it's like, listen, I want a product that just does it all. I don't care what it costs. I just want it to do it, and I'm okay with that too. So, but that's the conversation you want to have about. Yeah. All right.
What would be the best? Some of them.
Yeah, I don't know if I can give you a straight best one because they're all slightly different and it's all depending on your use case. But some of the biggest companies, so Norton and McAfee are probably the biggest. I'm not necessarily saying that they're the best, but they have the most in terms of like the software function and how it is, but they do have the biggest reputation in terms of antivirus. Some of the second class, I would say, would be like Avast, Malwarebytes, and I'm going to make a note of that too. I don't have much experience with them, to be honest with you, directly. I'm not saying they're bad or good. I can't speak on that because I don't have a lot. Personally, we use in the corporate environment, we use Defender, which is a Microsoft product, but it's a more advanced version of it. So, but those are some of the big names. WebRoot is also in there, but I think they're more of a corporate product. I've never really interacted with their personal products.
So Windows includes antivirus, right?
True.
So if I get a new laptop and it has Windows on it,
Mhm.
I don't need to get Norton McAfee or anything.
You do not need to, unless there is something that those. Do you currently have those softwares?
have Norton and I have Windows. And then somebody came and erased my McAfee because he didn't like it. He still inside my computer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and that's exactly what I'm about to say. So you have Norton currently. If there's something that Norton's doing for you that you find advantageous, then maybe you could consider keeping it. But if you've just installed it because someone's like, you have to have antivirus, then no, you don't necessarily need it when you move to your new computer. And then, did you have McAfee and Norton at the same time?
By accident, yes.
Yeah. So that's probably the reason why they removed one or the other, is because if you have more than one antivirus, that can cause problems all on its own. They can number one, antivirus takes up a lot of resources on your computer, a lot of brain power. And then if you have two of those, you're going to double how much brain power it's using. And then sometimes they'll fight each other anyway. So, okay. Any group discussions, or are we ready to move on one-on-ones?